Hello everyone, welcome back to Sketch by Sketch. If you're new here, my name is Emily and I love all things art. So today we're going to be doing another tutorial. So I'm in my Elo sketchbook and we just got a mechanical pencil. Today we're going to be drawing poses and specifically standing female poses. So on this first page I'm going to show you more of a tutorial style on how to do it and then give you a few more examples on another page here. So we're just going to start with the face. If you want to see a tutorial on that, then you can jump over to another video I have, and I also have a tutorial on the anatomy of the female body. So we're not going to go extremely into that detail, more of just how to put your characters into poses. So the main tip I have is to create a line of action, which you can see that line that I've drawn straight down the middle of my drawing. That is where the center of everything is in the overall direction of where your drawing is going to go. Then you can use lines and then circles for joints to put your legs in. All the proportions and stuff like that and how to get it to look anatomically correct is all in that video that I was talking about. You can play around with this, just sketch really lightly, and make sure to use reference photos if you're new at this. I'm not using one right now, I don't think, but always if you're new to this, just use a reference. It's totally fine, it's not cheating. So yeah, we're just going to go in, make those guidelines, and then you can start to kind of add the shapes around, like I'm doing here, to actually shape in the legs. And you can do this lightly. I'm drawing a little bit darker than usual so you guys can see it really well on camera, but just go light and see where you're at and see what you need to do there. Always keep an eraser around and you can just play around with this. As you can see, I'm using my kneaded eraser to keep these sketches really clean so you guys can see everything. You can always pause this video if you want to. I have sped it up just a little bit so it's not so slow, but if you need to slow it down, there's that feature on YouTube, or you could also just pause and follow along. I'm not really great at doing voiceovers on how to explain this, but I'm trying to draw really clearly and take my time so that you guys can see what I'm doing. Hopefully this helps you. One of my main tips would be to keep everything really soft. You don't need to draw any really harsh lines, because if you look at a picture of any body, there's really no harsh lines. I mean, sometimes bones make it a little bit sharper, but you're not going to have any like completely straight or pointed edges. So just keep everything really rounded and soft and it'll look a little more realistic. Again, the only things I'm erasing is those guidelines so you guys can see the overall shape a little bit better. Also, you don't have to draw completely realistic. You can draw in your own style. As you can see, I don't really draw the hands in. I just draw kind of like circles. It's just kind of my art style. I don't really like to draw hands. I'm not very good at it, and I am practicing, but for now that's what we're going with, and you can totally do that as well. As you can see there, I just drew it in. Your art style can be whatever you want it to be. Look at pictures on Pinterest, and I'm having a video coming out soon on how to find your art style. I'm also working on an art vlog. I've actually been filming that all day today. It's pretty much all my art stuff that I do in a day, but also everything else that I do, so you guys can get to know me a little bit more and know the things that I like to do. So be subscribed and make sure you turn on your notifications so you don't miss that video. It's going to be super fun. Alright, so here's the pose right here. It's really basic. This is a pose that I would draw a lot of my characters in. You can of course accentuate any of the features or make the pose a little more dramatic. This is pretty plain, but I'm not going to actually add clothes. Today we're just going to draw this so you can see where the torso is. I shaded it in just so it's a little bit easier to see, but of course after you draw the main body type, you can add the clothes over top. Alright, there is our first one. We're going to move on to the second one. This is another pretty basic pose. I'm not drawing anything too crazy today, just things that would be very easy for you guys to follow along with and draw. So we're just going to start out the same way with those guidelines. And I'm actually not drawing the faces in today either. And then you're just going to do this boxy shape for the rib cage, 2 circles for the shoulders, and then a circle where the elbows and hands are also going to be, and then I do a circle for the middle of the body, like the stomach area, And then you can also draw in just the full torso, almost if your character was wearing like a one-piece bathing suit is kind of what this looks like. It's kind of a weird comparison, but that's kind of how I look at it, and it makes it a little bit easier to follow along. Again, circles for the knees, straight lines for where the legs are going to be. And of course, you can play around with this. Like you can see, I had to move some things around to make it look a little bit more flowing and less stiff. So just play around, use your eraser, like I said. The elbows should hit pretty close to the waistline. Of course, every character is different, but just as a general rule of thumb, I would put the elbows around there. And just make sure, one thing that can make your drawing look really odd is if the arms are too long or too short. And really the only way to know exactly how to do this is to play around with it. And like I am doing right here, I had to erase a little bit because the arms were too short. So just mess around with it, you'll get it right. If you're wondering where I got my mechanical pencil, it came from wish.com. It was about $1. It did take a really long time to get here, but it actually is a nice mechanical pencil. It's got really thick lead in it, so it makes it easy to block out drawings and to sketch with. Alright, and as you like the way your drawing is going, you can darken it up a little bit, start pressing a little bit more with that pen, and you're going to get darker lines. So I definitely recommend actually using a pencil, either a color pencil, mechanical, whatever kind of pencil you want. Just if you're new to this, I don't recommend using a pen because that makes your lines permanent, and if you're just practicing, you want to be able to erase and work on what you're practicing. Sometimes my kneaded eraser also gets too big, so if you use a kneaded eraser, I would keep a smaller like pencil tip eraser around with you because sometimes it's just a little bit too big and bulky to erase certain things. So just make sure you have that variety, or you can just use the pencil eraser for everything. They pretty much roll on all pencils, so this isn't really something that you need a lot of materials for. You can use whatever you have around you. Definitely sketching with the pencil, I'm going to keep saying this, is going to keep your drawings really flowing and not stiff. Stiff drawings is what we want to avoid because that can just really just kind of destroy the look of the drawing. If it's too stiff, it just doesn't look lifelike and it doesn't look very good. And I've kind of had to practice this a lot, and I feel like that's one of the main things that you have the problem with when you first start drawing, is your drawings looking really stiff. So just keep your wrist really light and don't make any harsh lines. Just keep it super flowing. Alright, second piece is done. We're going to move on to this one now. This one's a little bit different than the other ones. We're going to do the pose from the back. So the shoulders are going to be facing down. You're going to still draw that line of motion, but I'm going to turn the hips slightly sideways. So that's what that line there was, going sideways. That's where the hips and the pelvis is going to be. And you're also going to keep drawing those circles for where the joints are. Always do that. And then, of course, the legs. When I draw characters from the back, I typically draw the shoulders as a downward arch, if that makes any sense. As you can see, they're not completely straight across. It makes it look a little bit more natural if you slightly tilt the shoulders downward, because no one walks around with completely stiff, straight back shoulders, so it just looks a little bit better if you do that. This one I did use a reference for because it is a little bit of a harder pose and I've never really drawn it before, so I did have to kind of practice that. And I actually drew this a few times. As you can see, I'm erasing. I did cut out all the parts where I was messing around with this because I got to practice too, and I thought it would be better for the tutorial to just cut those parts out. But do know that I did mess around with this a lot myself, so if you're not getting the results you want, then don't worry about it. I have to practice too, so does everyone. So just keep trying, you'll get it. Alright, and we finished that drawing too. There's our first page. Now I'm going to speed this up just a little bit more and show you a few more poses, but you kind of have the basic ideas now. So remember, you can always pause and you can use the feature on YouTube to slow the video down. We're just going to draw a few more poses using that exact same method, using the line of motion. And you kind of just draw the reference shapes, like I've told you about before, the ribcage shape and then the torso shape, in line with that line of motion. So you just kind of draw it all around it and it works out, you get your pose right. This one, the legs were a little bit too long, I realized after I did it, but that's okay. Some characters look different than others and they don't have to all be exactly the same. Some characters are going to be taller, some are going to be shorter. They don't all have to be the exact same body type. And it's actually good to practice drawing different types of bodies because no character is the same. If you enjoy drawing fan art, then you need to know how to draw different people because not everyone looks the same. And if you use the same character in the same exact stencil of the character, then they're not going to look any different. They're just going to have different clothes and hair on. So you really just want to practice drawing the differences in different people. I recommend looking on Pinterest and just going in and doing like big long sketchbook pages and just filling with sketches and sketches of different people and making them all look different, because that's how you really can improve as an artist, and your art's going to start looking really impressive when you can draw differences in people and actually create a little bit of likeness. You don't have to be realistic, again, like I said before. You could just use it in your style, but still you need to have some differences in your drawings. Alright, we're going to do another one here. This one, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I've been drawing really small to get the whole body in here, but we're just going to make this one a little bit bigger so that you can see more of the torso and we're not going to worry about the legs as much. So again, just map it out. I actually didn't draw the line of reference on this one. Sorry guys, I know I've been preaching that the whole time to draw that and I didn't even do it. But remember, you should be doing that. I have practiced poses a lot lately, so I kind of didn't think to do it anymore, but it always helps and probably could have benefited from doing that. When you first start drawing, you might realize that your drawings do look stiff, but if you keep practicing and draw multiple characters at the same time, you'll realize that your wrist starts to loosen up. As you can see on my drawings, I started out a little bit stiff, and now we're moving into these more static poses, dynamic poses, and they're looking a little bit better. So just keep drawing, and if you draw one and it doesn't look great, draw another one and keep going until you get one you like, because that's how you're really going to improve. Practice, practice, practice. Alright, there's that one. I think we can get one more in on this page before we have to stop. There's a little spot there, so I'm going to have to make this a little bit smaller to fit in there, but I think we can do it. Alright, this one's going to be a profile. So again, draw it at a little bit of a tilt. The rib cage is not exactly straight, so draw it a little bit tilting forward. And then you're going to draw the circle for the hip area slightly back from that. You can see what I'm doing. Hopefully me explaining it with the drawing going helps you understand. And just draw the shoulders connecting to the neck. Make sure not to make the neck too long. I feel like when I draw these profile drawings, sometimes the neck looks a little too long, so just try not to do that. And again, elbow's going to hit around where the waist is, and the hand around the upper thigh area. Alright, so we're closing it out here. I'm finishing up this, darkening some lines so you guys can see what I've done a little bit more. But hopefully this was a help to you. I really enjoy doing these tutorials. It was a lot of talking, I know, but hopefully you were able to enjoy it and learn something. If you're drawing along with me, let me know. I'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Again, thank you guys for 1,000 subscribers. It's super awesome. I'm going to be doing an official video on that. But for now, thank you guys so much. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Goodbye.